Ismaili.
And welcome back to our YouTube channel. Where we last left off, Akbar and I had both realized that we wanted to get married, but we had this huge hurdle in front of us.
So as you guys know, I'm actually from an Ismaili family, and she is from a Sunni family. And we had to convince our parents to let us get married.
That was no easy task because my parents were very strict Sunnis and Akbar's parents were very strict Ismailis, and nobody in our family had ever married someone from the other sect. So we had a lot of convincing to do.
Sure did.
After a lot of arguing, a lot of back and forth, we finally convinced our parents to meet each other. So my parents agreed to meet Akbar.
And my parents agreed to meet her. So since I'm the only child, I kind of had to take advantage of that. I told my parents that, hey, you know what? I'm going to marry Rosy, otherwise I'm not getting married. Get on board if you like, otherwise forget it. Otherwise forget it. Otherwise forget it.
So while Akbar had an easy time convincing his parents because he was able to use the only child card, I am not an only child. I was like Simran from DDLJ, except both of my parents were Amrish Puri. My mom was no sweet Frida Jalal, so I had it pretty rough.
Amrish Puri, by the way, amazing actor. Rest in peace. So the first time I met Rosy's parents, I was of course extremely nervous. I remember that I rang the doorbell when I got there, and it was Rosy's mom that actually opened the door. And I think the first thing she said was, "Tum to bahut pyare ho."
Yeah, the first thing she said to him, she didn't say hi, hello, nothing. He was wearing a really cute outfit. It was like a green collared shirt and he looked super suave. And my mom was literally like, "Tum to bahut pyare ho." And I was like, okay, this is good. He might be able to win them over.
Yeah. Kuch to fayda wo usko padega, right? After that, I got to talking to Rosy's dad, and he was grilling me pretty bad. His main thing was that I support Rosy in becoming a lawyer, and I was like, of course, that's definitely something I'm gonna do. I know Rosy's a smart woman, and I've known Rosy for a while at that point, and I know exactly how smart she is.
So becoming a lawyer was a goal of mine, a dream of mine since I was a little girl, and my dad wanted to make sure that I wasn't, gonna get married and forget all of my goals and ambitions. So he wanted to ensure that I had a partner that supported all of those things. And Akbar answered the questions like a G. It was like a full-on interview, right?
It was.
But he handled it really well. I was like, dang, there's no way my parents are gonna say no to him. He's doing such a great job.
And I also mentioned this in one of my previous videos that, hey, you know what? I'm a Desi, I'm a businessman, and she was going to be my investment. So that was an easy answer.
I'm glad you didn't tell my dad that. My dad would have been like, this guy is very chalak and he's using my daughter. Another thing that my parents were concerned about was what religion would our kids follow after marriage? Akbar was an Ismaili Muslim, I was a Sunni Muslim, so what would our kids do?
So I wasn't very religious at that point in my life, so I was like, hey, you know what? Rosy can decide, so it's not a big deal for me. A funny thing, of course, is that, me and her got married, and then we decided not to have kids.
Yeah.
So this was actually a non-issue that never needed to be discussed.
Exactly, but it was the biggest thing on I think both sets of our parents' minds were when you guys have kids, they need to follow our religion. So that ended up being pretty ironic.
Yeah. At the end of it all, things did end on a happy note, so it was all over, and I think I passed the test.
Yeah, my parents felt like Akbar checked all of the boxes. He was good looking, educated, he was a business owner, he was polite, but they could not get over the fact that he was not Sunni. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So next, it was my turn to meet Akbar's parents. So Akbar's the only child, and I was more afraid of his mom because I was usually Desi moms, Indian moms have very high standards for who they want their son to marry, especially if that is your only son and that is your only child. So I was really nervous, but I went to their house and Akbar's parents welcomed me like I was family. That was really nice. I did feel uncomfortable. And I have to say the thing that I really liked was that they didn't ask me any intrusive questions. They didn't even ask me what my dad did for a living, which I was like, that is amazing because I was at the age where I was getting a lot of rishtas, and I remember I had gotten a rishta where they had asked me what my grandfather did for a living and how educated my grandfather was. So I don't know, in the Pakistani community, these biodatas and all the background information they want on you is so intense, things that don't even matter. So with Akbar's parents, I feel like The real thing that they cared about was, well, our son likes her, and you know, they didn't really care like how educated I was or like what my parents did or where we lived. They didn't care about any of that extra stuff. That shouldn't matter anyway.
Next, it was time for our parents to meet.
So my parents had invited Akbar's parents over for lunch. They came over. They were very cordial with one another. My parents showed them a lot of respect, had a lot of food on the table. For us Punjabis, that is how we show respect to our guests. Overall, it seemed like everything went well, but then my parents ignored his parents for 3 months. Akbar's mom asked him, what happened? Like, did they not like us? Like, why have they not given us an answer of whether they're okay with you guys getting married or not? Little did his parents know that though my parents liked them, there was like a daily battle going on at my house where my parents were like, no, you can't marry this guy. His family is nice, he's nice, they check all the boxes, but they could not get over the religion issue.
The meeting actually went well for the most part, but there were definitely some discussions that happened and a lot of uncomfortable questions both sets of parents asked each other pertaining to religion.
I don't remember any of this, by the way.
Yeah.
Only Akbar remembers this.
Yes, I do remember because I myself, was getting uncomfortable with that. Yeah, my parents did get ignored for like 3 months, and that was a tough time, definitely.
Yeah, it was way tougher for me though, because while they were patiently waiting, there were daily battles going on at my house. It was like DDLJ on steroids, because my parents were like, no, you can't marry this guy. Like, this is not like the right match for you. But the only thing they kept coming back to was religion. They checked all the boxes of the type of family my parents would want me to marry into, except for the religion issue. And my parents could not get over it. Funnily enough, guys, our parents are actually going to Mexico together next week.
Yeah.
They get along. They're so nice to each other. My mom and Akbar's mom get along like super well. And it's crazy because at the time, my mom could not see herself having a relationship with somebody that was outside of the Sunni faith tradition, having a friendship with somebody, because she'd never had it. And I think your parents had felt the same way.
Yeah, definitely, because they were definitely involved within the Somali community. All their friends were from there. So
same with my parents.
It was hard to imagine for both sets of parents to actually be able to get along even after marriage, but alhamdulillah, things are a lot different now.
Let's tell you how we actually got there. So how did I ultimately convince my parents? Well, I'm a Capricorn, and the Capricorn star sign is, I think, a goat, and I am a stubborn goat. I would not take no for an answer. I remember my dad had told me that I was making the worst mistake of my life by pushing this issue of marrying Akbar. I'll never forget the day my mom told me, if you marry him and things don't work out, you don't have a place in our house anymore. And I don't know if she meant it, that I would never be able to come back if things didn't work out, or if it was a scare tactic. I think it was a scare tactic.
But she meant it.
I don't think she meant it either, but I was like 22 years old. So I literally was like, oh my gosh, like this needs to work out with Akbar. But I told my parents, look, like despite this religious issue, like he's a great guy, he supports all my dreams. At that point, Akbar had already been supporting me in business school, and he was going to support me throughout law school. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And guys, I'm sure, just trust me. Ultimately, they did trust me, and they agreed to let Akbar and I get married. So let's talk about the wedding day. So our wedding was really rushed. My parents wanted us to make it halal as soon as possible. Again, conservative Sunni parents. So we got our nikah done. A month and a half later, we had our reception. My parents weren't super happy at my wedding. I didn't get my dream wedding that I dreamt of, since I was a little girl, but I was marrying my dream guy, and that was more than enough for me.
At the end of the day, the only thing that mattered was, us getting married and getting to live together, because, that's the ultimate goal, right? The wedding is just an event.
Yeah.
4 days, you just smile for everybody, people come and eat your food, then they criticize it, all of that great stuff. But yeah, it was over, and I was glad it was over, and then, we were able to start a life together.
Where are we today? As we hinted, our parents are going to Mexico next week, just on their own, like the four of them. They're very friendly with each other. Akbar and my dad are business partners, so forget them, having an awkward relationship. Like, they talk on the phone every single day. You guys were just talking to each other a little bit ago.
That's right, we were, work-related stuff, and, it's always great to actually hang out with our dad. I mean, we connect on a lot of different levels. We have a lot of things in common.
Yeah.
It's not just business, so.
Yeah, and it's really funny because my dad was telling me the other day, he's an introvert, and he was telling me that Akbar is one of his closest friends. So that was really,
nice.
really sweet to go from, don't marry this guy, it's the worst mistake you're gonna make in your entire life, to calling Akbar one of his closest friends. So we've definitely come a very long way. So those of you that are fighting for love and you feel like you are fighting for the right person that you can spend the rest of your life with, like, don't give up. It took us months it took me, I wasn't an only child, it took me months to convince my parents, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm glad that I stuck to my guns and I fought for our love, because here we are 13 and a half years later, still happily married.
Absolutely. So fight for your love and जी ले अपनी जिंदगी. I want to say that, we apologize for this video being so late. We are going to try and be more regular with our videos and uploads over here. And
if you haven't done so, please make sure you
subscribe, like, and
share. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back soon.
Thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye-bye.